We are now live. Let's see, this is the one I want. All right, we're live now. Okay. Thanks for joining me, Brutus on Baseball channel live stream. We're trying out a new software this week, and so there's definitely going to be some hiccups along the way. I'm going to have to test things out. Hopefully it works out how it's supposed to. It's definitely, some growing pains along with it to try to figure out exactly how to use everything. So just like that first one, wrong camera right off the bat, but that's all right. We'll make it work. So I hope, people will join. The purpose of this really is just to get on here. I didn't have the chance to make a video again this week, pre-recorded. And so I figured it would be just fun to spend some time on here live streaming with folks. So I've got a bunch of boxes of Donruss baseball cards from the junk wax era, starting with 1988. This is the first one. Going through, I don't have 89 or 90 today, but I've got 91s, I've got 92s, 93s, and I even have, I threw this in because it's kind of similar to Donruss, but it's a box of triple play. I don't know if people remember that, if you grew up in the junk wax era. Some interesting looking cards. We'll see how much time we have to open everything today. There's a lot of cards to go through here, and so it could be one of those things where I break this up into more than one session, or we just hang out and do it all if it manages to be on time. So, like I said, kind of figuring out my way around this software. Quickly, it's been a fun week in baseball. Like I'll just talk about this real quick. Today I watched the Phillies game. They came back on the Cardinals in the bottom of the ninth. They were down 4-0 going into the ninth inning, and they just kept stringing hits together. Sosa had a great hit. De La Cruz had a great at bat that could have ended the game, but it ended up prolonging it. I think tying it up, and then Schwarber came up with a 2-run bomb to walk it off in the bottom of the ninth inning. Very cool finish. We've had some great finishes or great games lately. Randy Rosarena yesterday had a home run to lead off the game, a home run robbery in the middle of the game, and then a home run to walk it off at the end of the game. And it was just an incredible game for him. And not too long ago, I think PCA had something similar where he, led off the game with a home run and then walked it off as well. And then Tatis had an amazing game not too long ago either. He, I think he also, led off the game with a home run, robbed a grand slam or something like that of Lindor. Yeah, great clip of him doing that. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's pretty cool. And then hitting a second home run in the game. So there's just been some phenomenal games by some of these players lately. It's a lot of fun to watch. So, I think we'll just get started. Yeah, gallery stars are cool. So yeah, you remember the triple play. It's a cool box. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to open it up if I get to it. So let's start. I have got two different camera angles, and I'm going to take a second to set this thing up. So hopefully you guys can see both camera angles. We've got this one that's kind of from up top as I'm opening things up. You'll be able to see that. And then I want to be able to show me too as I talk to people. So let's see. I think I have to pin this, pin that one, and then I think everybody can see me hopefully. So got to see me here, and you see my hands while I'm opening up cards. So hopefully that works out, and I will try to put this on chat so that I can follow along. If anybody has something to say, feel free to throw it in there in the chat. Like I said, just hanging out, opening some boxes of baseball cards. I often do this alone in the house. I figured might as well get it on here, live stream for a couple hours, see who can come in and out, and just kind of check this out as we go. Starting with 1988 Donruss. So if you grew up in this time period, 88 Donruss is not that exciting of a product in a lot of ways. It's got these, the puzzle pieces, first of all, always with the puzzle pieces in Donruss. It's something that back in the day, there's a story about this, that Topps had gum, and they, by law, were the only ones that could sell baseball cards with gum or candy included. And so when Donruss and Fleer came on the scene in the early 80s, 1981, they were not allowed to include gum or candy with their cards. And so this is what Donruss started doing, was puzzle pieces, something interesting to include with their baseball cards. I'm not sure it was really needed, but it was still something extra. And Fleer started doing it with the stickers. They had those team stickers and holograms for a couple years. So right off the bat, you can see that this box is probably going to be this whole way. Lee Smith, really, really off-center, left to right. The main reason for me to open up this box and get it was the Diamond Kings. So we are going to have a couple maybe in the middle that don't have bad centering, so maybe there's something salvageable. I'll go through these pretty quickly. I think the 88 Donruss. But like I said, the main reason to open it up is the Diamond Kings. So I made a video not too long ago, it was maybe a year ago at this point, where I talked about wanting to start to collect all the Diamond Kings, the entire Diamond King run from 1982 until, well, I guess all the way until 1991, but then that didn't stop me. I still want to continue all the way up 92 through 97 when they were insert cards. So I wanted to be able to collect the entire run in PSA 10 of at least from 82 to 91. And some of them are really hard to find. And so I decided to pick up a few boxes of these to see if I could get anything that is in really good condition. And like I said, this one is way off center. So I might actually just kind of skip looking at this box if there's not going to be a lot of on center Diamond Kings, then there's not really much of a point. It's just kind of a wasted box. But that's kind of the goal for me here is a lot of those Diamond Kings that don't have a lot of PSA submissions, to be able to buy a few boxes for pretty cheap. These are very cheap to get, and just see if we can pick something up that could potentially be a PSA 10. There's a few people that have reached out to me. One guy in particular, David, who's very, very eager to complete the Diamond King run in PSA 10. Way more eager than I am. I've got lots of other stuff that I'm still collecting. But to be able to do that, there's a lot of them from the late 80s, early 90s that don't have any PSA 10s at all in the pop report. And then even ones that do, that have like one or two available. So very difficult. Weight box is not bad, off center, top to bottom. I always do this. When I look through these, I always separate out the Hall of Fame players, just to kind of put them in a different pile. Scott Fletcher, not bad left to right, but still off center, top to bottom. It's not going to be something that's going to gem. So we're going to have to probably set aside almost all of these. So anybody that was hoping to see an entire box of 88 Donruss, I'm not sure there's many people out there that are that excited about 88 Donruss, but if you were hoping to see that today, you may not see a full box. We'll see how it goes. There's still a lot of good stuff from 88. So this was the Diamond King checklist. There's a couple cards in here. Stan Musial, that's the actual puzzle. When you put it all together, that's what it's going to look like, the Stan Musial puzzle piece. So Hall of Fame rookies in here, there is Roberto Alomar, Tom Glavine. I think that those are the only two. Even if you get, perfectly centered gem mint copies, they're still going to go in PSA 10 for like, I want to say it's $50 maybe. Roberto Alomar is probably not that much. So it's really not worth your while to open these up unless you have a specific reason, which is the Diamond King chase for me and a couple other collectors. So, but that's way off center, not going to be a good one. And then the big chase back in the day, if you were collecting in 1988, it's Greg Jeffries. That was the big chase back in the day. He had a good career, the good solid major league career. Again, Paul Molitor, MVP, off center, top to bottom, but not horrible. Cal Ripken, MVP, definitely off center both directions. But Greg Jeffries, he was the guy that everybody wanted to collect. A little off center still for Andre Dawson, the Hawk. And Greg Jeffries had an amazing career. Like, it was good. He made the All-Star team a couple times. I want to say with the Royals, maybe the Cardinals. Good career, but just never lived up to the type of hype that he had starting off his career. So it's hard to to come out of the gates and expect to be that good, especially on the Mets team of the late 80s. So got a couple Hall of Famers, Ripken and well, one Hall of Famer, one guy that should be Hall of Fame, Lou Whitaker. Not in the Hall of Fame yet, but I often put him in that Hall of Fame pile. I think it'll be just a matter of time, and Whitaker will be in the Hall of Fame one day to join his double play partner, Alan Trammell. All right. So Ricky Henderson, this is a tough card. So hard to find this one in gem mint condition. There are some in Donruss. If you look at Leaf, this is one of those cards that I highlighted in some videos that I've made about like incredibly difficult cards to gem from the jump wax era. The Leaf Ricky Henderson from 1988 still has 0 PSA 10s. I can't remember how many have actually been submitted at this point. It's not a lot, you know, it's up around 40 or something like that. But whereas like every other Leaf card of Hall of Famers, the gem rate is, you know, 10, 20, maybe even 30%, because you're only going to send in your really good copies. Ricky Henderson just has 0 still, so a really tough one to get. Not one that a lot of people want to submit, but there's Ricky Henderson following out there for sure. McGuire, way back in the day, after his 49 home runs in 1987, he was the man for a little while. All right, so I'm going to slow this one down. I am going to move off of 1988. There's really nothing in here that I'm going to be able to salvage, and you know, I've been able to do at least a quarter of the box. There's one of the really cool Diamond Kings from back in that time period. I think I had binders, you know, full of this card just to be able to collect Mark McGuire back in the day when I was growing up. There we go. There's a Roberto Alomar. Still pretty off center, left to right, top to bottom. Not going to get very many cards that are good at all in this box, obviously. But there's one of your Hall of Fame rookie cards. I wanted to at least see one of them. Ryan Sandberg, another Hall of Famer. Before I log off here, I wanted to hopefully be able to see something. You can go through these boxes, and there's a channel out there, if you guys haven't seen it, Baseball Card Stories, I think is what it's called now. He's gone through a couple of different names of his channel, but he tells really good stories about old baseball cards and really just putting sets together. It's a lot of fun to watch, and he made one that was fascinating for me to watch. There's a George Brett, pretty good condition. I set that one aside. But anyway, he made a video all about 1988 Donruss and how many boxes it would take to be able to open up to be able to complete a full set of them. And I don't remember what it ended up being. You know, like, I want to say he had to go out and buy additional boxes before he could actually do it. I think he started with 4 boxers or something like that, and he ended up having to go out and get like 2 more boxes before he could actually complete the set. And his stack of doubles just kept growing and growing and growing. But you know, it took him whatever 6 boxes, let's say, to be able to get the last couple cards. So that just goes to show you, like, if I come in here hunting specifically for a Tom Glavine, if I want to see the other Hall of Fame card, it's going to take quite a while to be able to see some of those. Fred McGriff in his Blue Jays uniform. A lot of people don't remember him in the old Blue Jay days. And yeah, I'll just finish this little layer right here and then move on to 91 Donruss. Who knows, maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see a Tom Glavine, another Aussie, the Wizard, Carlton Fisk, Mark McGuire's. See, you start to see doubles already. You know, some of the good doubles, but before you even get halfway through the box, you're starting to see doubles, and it's going to take a lot of boxes to be able to actually see every card that's supposed to be in here. So that's Collation from back in the day. I don't know if it's gotten better. I don't open a lot of new stuff. I've heard that it's not great sometimes, but Dale Murphy, off center, top to bottom, not bad left to right. Not a Hall of Fame guy, but another one that's constantly up for, you know, the Veterans Committee ballot, whatever they're calling it. I think he's on the Contemporary Era Committee, I think, right? Yeah, he started in '77, so he must be on that one. He keeps on getting half the votes, but never quite getting over the line. So, and what a great guy. Like, the type of baseball player that you want to be in the Hall of Fame, you root for the guy. That's Dale Murphy. But there you go. Second Roberto Alomar card. There we go. And one more pack, and then I'm just gonna toss this box aside. So yeah, somebody commented that was a bonkers video. I'm assuming you're talking about the 88 Donruss putting the set together. It was crazy. Like I didn't know going into it what to expect. I didn't think it was going to take nearly as many boxes as he ended up having to do. But you know what was interesting is like how much fun it was to just watch that video. It was literally nothing. And it wasn't even opening packs like this. Like he was hurrying through it at whatever it was, like 10 times speed or something like that. But it was just fun to be able to sit down and watch him put a set together. And I don't know if that makes us collectors weird or what it is, but yeah, I think most people that are not collectors would look at that and they would just think that what a useless video. I don't get a point. But for us, like it's so much fun to actually see how it turns out, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch. So another Molitor Diamond King off center. Got a Fred McGriff in there. Got a Gary Carter at the end. Really great pack. Another Hall of Famer at the front. Who was that? Oh, there we go. 2 Gary Carters in the same pack. So there's correlation for you. And Will Clark, another guy, not a Hall of Famer, but like Dale Murphy, borderline. I'd like to see him get in someday, but we'll see. A lot of those guys that I'd like to see in don't get close enough. And Dale Murphy, I like Dale Murphy. Will Clark, I like Will Clark. He's not a typical nice guy like Dale Murphy is, but he's just like a real guy. And it's kind of fun to see him on so many podcasts these days and just kind of saying whatever he's thinking. You know, it's kind of fun to I don't know. He's one of those old guy get off my lawn type of guys, it feels like, and it's just kind of cool to see his personality come out in the podcast. So, all right, so there I'm setting aside the Donruss. I've gotten rid of it from 88. Starting in 91, this is Series 1 of 91. Now, I can't say that this one's going to be all that much more interesting than 88, to be honest with you. Maybe a little bit more interesting for one reason and one reason only. Donruss Elite inserts. So this was the first year that they started putting in the Elite inserts. And what a crappy product to actually put the Elite inserts into. This has got to be one of my least favorite sets of all time. You know, a lot of people talk about the Fleer from 91 being one of their least favorites, the ugly yellow sets, but to me, like this 91 Donruss, you know, blue borders with all these like fluorescent hot colors, you know, kind of hot pink, yellow, little dots here, and I don't know. I just look at this and I just think that is so early 90s. Actually, it's kind of late 80s. That's what I feel like to me. So they were behind their times already. But I can't stand the look of this set. I think it's horrible. But this is, you know, what we're looking for. Diamond Kings that are in good shape. This one is in fairly decent shape except for the 2 top corners. I don't know how great the live stream is going to be for seeing detail on these, but the 2 top corners definitely are a little bit dinged, if you can see that. So I'll still put it aside. Somebody said the 91 Leaf preview set out of the Donruss sets ended up buying 50 sets before I got Tony Gwynn. Yeah, crazy, huh? Yeah. Yeah, so 91 Donruss, like I said, still, you know, looking for the Diamond Kings because that's part of the full run. Ryan Sandberg highlights. It's a little off center. I'll still separate them out. These are not badly centered, so it's not perfect 50-50, but they're close enough that I'll separate them out and look closer at them later. Yeah, so the Donruss Elite, this is the first year that they started inserting them. And the first year, I want to say they were numbered to, I can't remember if it was 10,000 the first year or if it was 5,000. I want to say 10,000 at the beginning. I should know that. But with how much product, like 10,000 sounds like a lot of cards, but with how much product they actually pumped out there during the junk wax era, you have to go through a ton of boxes. I think it's like one per case sort of thing, a case hit back in the day. And so you have to really go through a lot of these 91 cards to be able to get lucky enough to find a Donruss Elite. So opening up one box, not very likely. You never know. Maybe we get lucky. Who knows? It's not the primary reason to be doing this. Omar Vizquel, not a Hall of Famer. I hope he never gets in. But I still separate him out because I wouldn't put it past a Veterans Committee to put him in at some point in the future. But yeah, you have to open up a ton of this product to get the chance for a Donruss Elite. So we'll see. We got a lot of boxes here. Maybe we get lucky, maybe we don't, but we're gonna have fun opening it up anyway. So got the Robin Yount. That one looks pretty good. I love Robin Yount. Those old Brewers teams from the 80s, I love those teams. Harvey's Wallbangers. All right, puzzle card off. Let's see what we got here. Bill Clark, I separate him out. You never know. Roger Clemens, second Donruss Diamond Kings of Roger Clemens in the same box. All right, yeah, so I think, yeah, you're right. 10,000 though for the first one. 10,000 for the basic Donruss Elites. Not 1,000, but I'll hide this. Like I said, I'm learning. Show on stream. Let's do that. Yeah. So I think it's 10,000 for the basic Elites. 7,500 for the Ryan, which is kind of a Legends type Donruss Elite. And then the Ryan Sandberg was the first time that they had an auto included, and that one was numbered to 5,000. So yeah, thank you for adding in that info. I knew it was something. I was pretty sure it was 10,000 for the first year for most of your basic cards. And I'm curious. Like, there's no way to really know. This one's pretty off center. There's no way to really know how many of these have been found. If you look at the PSA pop reports, they're not enough information to be able to go off of it. And people would have graded with BGS back then too. Third Diamond King for Roger Clemens. And this is just from a series 1. So this one they split into 2 series. And it's going to be even worse collation because of that. You're going to find cards over and over, because I think the checklist only went up to maybe 300, something like that, 330 or something. So we're probably going to see a lot of repeat cards. I'm curious, with just dealing with one series, how many boxes it would still take to make a complete set out of this. Sure would be quite a few, 3 or 4 at least, I would guess. Carlton Fisk, Mark McGuire, again, another guy that's not a Hall of Famer, but I often put him in the pile. One day he might get in. He did a lot for the game of baseball. Let's be honest there. And not everybody likes to vote for the PED guys, but I'm one of those that I think that the PED era went way beyond the players only. And if we've got managers and owners and all this kind of stuff in the PED era that are in the Hall of Fame, it's really unfair to just blame the players only, especially when we have no idea like how extensive PEDs really were through the game of baseball. Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, like they're the face of it, obviously, Sammy Sosa. But if it was prevalent throughout the game, there was no testing. Who knows how many people were actually using. I really find it a hard time to keep those people out. So that's my 2 cents. I know that it's a divisive subject, and I respect you guys for having your own opinions if you disagree with mine, but that's how I've always felt. So I'd like to see some of these guys not scapegoated for the entire era just because of what they decided to do. All right, let's get through here. A Ripken, not bad. I saw a Biggio Diamond King on the back there, so that actually looks to be in fairly good shape overall. That would be one that I'm going to put aside later and look closer at it, see if it could potentially gem. It's funny how a lot of these cards, like we're talking 1991 Donruss Diamond Kings, they're just base cards, but there's something about the Diamond King set that is just amazing. Like, they made the documentary a couple years ago about Dick Perez and the Diamond Kings, and it's such a part of the history of collecting in the 80s and the early 90s even. This one's off center, but I'm still going to set it aside. It's just, you can't tell the story, I don't think, of baseball cards in the 80s without talking about Diamond Kings and how cool they were. They're still a base card, but to be able to pull a Diamond King, it was just neat to see. I used to go to the corner store and I'd buy like 1, 2, 3 packs with my my allowance that I had, and if I could get a Diamond King or two out of like 2 packs, then I was ecstatic. I loved seeing them. I thought they were just the coolest looking cards. So I think there's a lot of people that feel that way when they look at Diamond Kings, and so it's not too surprising that people want to come out and collect them. And now that we're in the day and age that we're in now with grading and disposable income for people that grew up in the 80s and 90s, they're going to want to get the best condition copies that they possibly can find. And not everybody is into grading, not everybody's on board with that, but it's just another way to collect. People just enjoy the way that they like to collect. And by all means, more power to you if that's how you like it. And so I think that, getting a full set of Diamond Kings, full run from 82 to 91 and a binder, that's amazing. I find that would be very easy to do. You could go buy that very quickly, but getting them all in PSA 10, like that's a really long-term project, and so that is a different way to collect, and just really makes it interesting for some people. So got the Barry Bonds, that looked really good condition as well. I don't know if people have seen my other video that I made last week about 90s inserts, and things are just going nuts. Like, it's crazy. Barry Bonds cards, King Griffey Jr. cards, it's just nuts what's going on. And so I don't know what a PSA 10 and a 91 Donruss base card of a Diamond King would go for, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if it's several $100s at this point in a PSA 10. It's just nuts. And so when you start to see some of those prices out there for Diamond Kings, it makes way more sense to try to open up a box for literally $20 and see if you can find something that'll gem, and maybe you'll get lucky. LMR is a little bit off center left to right, but close enough to take a look at. Tony Gwynn looks really good. There you go. 92 Diamond Kings is my favorite. Yeah, the 92 was great, wasn't it? Like, when they came out with that first insert set, and I don't know what it is. I've got the 92 here. We'll open it in a little bit. I want to say maybe like 4 cards per box, so even harder to hit. And I remember opening those up and getting a few of them, and I thought that those were so cool to be able to actually start hitting insert cards when they first started coming out. The first one was, for me, that I think of is Provision from 91 Fleer, being able to hit those cards, usually 4 per box in that one too. But then the Diamond Kings as well. 92 is a great set. 93 is essentially the same. When you look at them, there's a couple very, very subtle differences, but they're essentially the same design on the front. But just great looking cards. I remember the first one that I ever hit was a Paul Molitor from that 92 insert sets, and I think later on I got a John Kruk or something like that. And I don't know, neither one of those are by any means the best cards in the sets, but they just mean a lot to me, and I still have them. I still have those old 92 Donruss Diamond King inserts that I got. So another Dave Parker number 2, looks really good condition. I think, David, if you happen to watch this, I know you are looking for a lot of this stuff in PSA 10. I've got some here that I think we can look through and see if we could possibly gem some of these. The corners look great on some of them. Edges look pretty good. Centering, not bad for this box. Much better than the 88 Donruss was that I started out with, that's for sure. Alright. Yeah, so thanks again, everybody, for joining me. This is basically what I'm doing, opening up boxes of old Donruss, and if you find this interesting, by all means, come spend your Sunday afternoon, evening with me, wherever you are in the world. Sandy Alomar. So we've got the Roberto Alomar and the Sandy Alomar. Sandy's off center, so I won't include that one. Lou Whitaker, off center as well. Won't include that. So yeah, this is just a fun time for me, and if I can spend it kind of online doing this, interacting with people that love the same thing, grew up with the same thing, or some people, maybe you're newer to collecting and you didn't collect in the 90s and you're curious of what opening a box of 90 type stuff looks like, then by all means, you're welcome to join too. So got the Rafael Palmeiro. Looks not too bad. Palmeiro's, when you get to that time period, I talked a little bit about PEDs earlier on, Barry Bonds. If you start getting into the Rafael Palmeiros of the world and the Manny Ramirez's of the world, and you really want to put your foot down and say, not a Hall of Famer for those guys because they failed tests, that's a different story to me. I understand it. I think I would still vote for most of those guys if I had a vote that mattered. I think I still would, but I can understand it a lot better. Palmeiro is such a poster child for what can go wrong. He has an entire career. He gets 3,000 hits. He gets 500 home runs. He wags his finger in front of Congress and says, I did not take PEDs. Brian Harper, but nice lifted corner, so that's not going to work. And not long after he wagged his finger at Congress, he's busted. One of the first people out of the gate busted for a failed drug test and suspended. Alomar looks pretty good. And, because of how shortly it was after and how it was kind of one of the first players out of the gate to be suspended under the new drug testing regime, he just has never been able to live it down. And combine that with the fact that, he was never a huge fan favorite. I think that goes a long way too. He hit 3,000. He had 3,000 hits, hit 500 home runs. But it was one of those guys that I think it was a surprise to a lot of people when he accomplished those feats. He was never somebody that was obviously going to be a Hall of Famer. And so it was easier to dismiss him as well. Ramon Martinez, that's a really, really nice looking one. I don't see a single blemish on that one. Maybe a little corner wear, a little white on the corner up top, but we'll see. Yeah, so Palmeiro, I could totally get it. I hate that his entire career was tarnished because of something that happened on when he's basically going to retire in a few months, sort of thing. That's too bad, but he should have known better. If you're going to keep taking PEDs when you know that testing is coming in, that's just ridiculous. And Manny Ramirez is the other one. He's such an interesting character, and I want to like Manny Ramirez because he just doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. And I can imagine Manny Ramirez coming out and saying oh, PED testing? I don't care. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Oh, I failed a test. I'm suspended. Whatever. I'll just keep doing it. And he just keeps on getting popped for it. Dave Magadan off center. Got 2 Diamond Kings in a row. Magadan's off center. Greg Olson. It's not bad. I think I'll keep that one and look at it. So, yeah, Manny Ramirez ended up testing positive twice, getting a suspension twice, and by all accounts failing a third test, and was essentially allowed by Major League Baseball to voluntarily retire rather than being banned for life from the game of baseball. And people talk about it. Pete Rose is eligible for the Hall of Fame now. He's going to get voted in pretty quickly. I think it's beyond a doubt now that he's passed away. If you're banned for life from baseball, then you're not eligible for the Hall of Fame. That's how I see it. If you are not banned from life, then you're still eligible. And that's why I would probably vote for some of these guys still, because they were such phenomenal players. And they got punished accordingly based on what baseball considered to be the need for a suspension for 1 failed drug test, 2 failed drug tests. Now, if you disagree with that and you think like 2 you should be banned for life, then that's a different conversation, I guess. But the bottom line is they're still eligible. They should be considered. So, but I can understand if people don't want to put their vote out for them. Anyway, Griffey, 91 All-Star card of King Griffey Jr. Just a base card, but people are just salivating over Griffeys these days. Matt Williams, it's a nice little Diamond King, looks pretty good. Paul Molitor, Robin Ventura, not a Hall of Fame guy, but just a great player. Chuck Finley's off center. All right, I've been rambling a lot about PEDs. I was not expecting to do that in this live stream. So let's get back onto focus. Let's talk about early 90s baseball before the strike, the lockout, whatever, before the World Series was canceled. This was a time when there was a lot of economic strife between the players and owners. But it was a fun time. I love growing up in the Chenquax era. I don't know. There's a lot of cards out there, but it was a lot of fun to open up all these cards. And growing up during the insert craze, my first cards were I usually say 88. It was my first real cards. I definitely knew of 1987, and especially the tops, the wood border. Those still to me are some of the best designed cards ever. I love the 87 tops design. But I think that my interest in baseball cards really took off in 88, because I don't remember going to buy packs of 87 tops. But I remember going to buy packs of 88 Donruss and 88 tops, both of those. And so that's when I first started. But then when I really, really got heavy into baseball cards was the early 90s. So I bought a lot of 90 Donruss, pretty useless. I bought a lot of 91 Fleer, but I really, 91 to 95, I'd say, was my prime years of collecting. And to be able to grow up in that time period when insert cards were just taken up a notch every single year, every single release, all of these places were competing against each other to try to one-up each other in innovation, coming up with new designs. The birth of the premium cards, the Upper Deck, and then 90 Fleer, and then you had the Ultra come in, and then you had Stadium Club, and then you had Finest and 93, and every single year, things just kept on getting more and more fascinating, more and more interesting, and it was just a phenomenal time to be collecting, to really start as a kid, collecting these cards. And it's probably why you have so many kids from that era that are back in it or still in it and love collecting because of how interesting it was. They might come out with interesting insert cards these days, but I feel like a lot of it is just the same ideas kind of regurgitated or rethought out. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of new innovation that I see. And I'm probably biased because I don't buy, like I said, I don't open a lot of new boxes. Maybe I don't see a lot of the good stuff. There's some interesting stuff, sure. But most of it is based off of, low serial number these days. But back in this time period, it really felt like every year was a new idea, something that had never been done in cards before. And that was it was really cool to be seeing the evolution as it was happening. So you can see what, part of this idea was to open up 88 Donruss is what I started with, and how ugly those cards are. You can see 91 Donruss and what 91 looks like. Still pretty ugly. I did not care for these card designs very much. But we start to talk about the insert cards, the Donruss Elites that are put in here, and Upper Deck when they put the Reggie Jackson autograph cards in, and stuff like that. And you start to see cards like that can come out of a box, and it's pretty cool. But then I kind of wanted to look at all of these Donruss boxes over one live stream. I thought that would be kind of a neat idea, just to see in the span of a couple of years how it all evolved, like how it got more interesting every single year. And this is just Donruss. Like if I was opening up boxes of more premium stuff, it would be even more interesting, I think, the evolution that you see. So there's one of the base Griffey cards. Not bad. Like I said, PSA 10 copies of a lot of these now. This is the Diamond King checklist. Not bad. Kurt Stillwell, little off center left to right, but it's okay. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see the evolution of these insert cards. And I don't know if people watching, if you had like a specific insert from these years that you either remember opening and pulling one, or you remember just loving the design, just thinking like how out of the world crazy it was. There was definitely a lot of those. Another secondary bonds. This one's a little off center, but still look at it closer later. Dennis Eckersley, Hall of Fame guy. Yeah, like some of the Ultra inserts were phenomenal when they started really using technology to create some cool stuff. I think the 93 Ultra inserts is when I first started thinking like, this is different, this is really cool. Like the Home Run Kings and the Strikeout Kings and things like that. But you started getting into 94, 95, like they really took it up a notch. Team Pinnacles were some of my favorites. The Leaf had some great insert cards, statistical standouts from 1995. I think hands down, in my opinion, is the best insert card design of all time. I love the 95 Leaf statistical standouts. And if you don't know that one, go look it up after this. You can check it out for sure. Take a little drink here. I didn't really think about how much I was going to have to talk this whole time too. There we go. Ironhide. Home Run Kings were definitely a favorite. I love the design, especially 93 I think was the one that I liked a lot. They had some great ones later on, like the 97 Home Run Kings are amazing, but that was definitely later on, after a lot of innovation had been done on the card design. But 93 was a cool first one. Ryan Sandberg, Diamond King. So we're starting to reach the end of the 91 Donruss. Like I said, not likely to get elite cards. I would be fascinated. That would be a great project, a research project of some sort, to try to figure out how many elite cards are still out in the wild. I think that would be fascinating to try to figure that out. Another Griffey All-Star, not bad. Let's see, Andrew. 90 Upper Deck Reggie Jackson Heroes. You pulled the auto a couple years ago on your YouTube channel. Nice. Now, did you have to open a ton of boxes and just kind of record yourself until you hit one? Or was it just like totally luck of the draw? Like you happened to be opening a box of 90 Upper Deck and you just hit it? Like, I'm curious about that. Like for me here, this is just, I bought a couple of each box or one of each, some of them, and if I hit something great, then amazing, but I don't expect to at all. But yeah, I'm curious, like how lucky you got there hitting a Reggie auto from Upper Deck. I think that one was numbered out of 2,500, something like that. It was really low, and they were hand numbered if I remember right too. First numbered insert set really was that Reggie Jackson Upper Deck Heroes. Cecil Fielder does not look great. another Barry Bonds. So 3 Barry Bonds. If you're going to get a number of one guy, this is probably the guy to do it in this set. All right. And we're almost down to our last layer of 91, Series 1 at least. I do have a box of Series 2, but I'm thinking, like, we're already 45 minutes into this. I've got a lot of other boxes, and I think it might bore everybody a little bit to open 2 different boxes of 91 Donruss. Even though, you know, there's a chance there might be an elite card in there. Chances are not great, so I think I'll move on to 92 after we finish this one off. Chuck Finley, definitely some, yeah, fragments, little paper cut fragments in the cards. And everybody can see out there what it was like to open cards in 1991, where there were so few hits of any sort. This is when base cards actually meant something. You tried to build a set of all the players in the game that year. And that was pretty cool by itself. Definitely things have changed. All right, so Andrew bought a case with the intent of trying to pull one. I got it on the last box of the case. Still crazy lucky. Yeah. That is amazing. That is awesome. Congratulations on grabbing that. Is it, I wonder what the pull rate on something like that was. I can't imagine that it was 1 per case. It's got to be even harder than that. Probably 1 every 4 or 5 cases, I would assume, based on how low that print run was. But yeah, that's pretty cool to be able to pull the card that you really, really want, especially coming down to the last box. Like, that makes it very, very intense. All right, coming down to it, Dave Grigetti. That one just looks funny. It looks okay, but it looks like it's kind of that diamond cut where everything's kind of shifted diagonally a little bit. I'll look at it later in a little bit. I've got more time, but 2 packs left of the 91 Donruss. I would love to be able to pull a Donruss Elite from 91, because that, like I said, it's the first year that they had Donruss Elite, and by far the hardest to find these days, the most expensive to get if you do want to buy any versions. Like, that's kind of the place to be for Donruss Elite. 92 is pretty huge too, and 93 was, I think a lot of people like the design. I really like the 93 Donruss Elite design, and then after that, it's still a great set. Like, all the way through 97, I think it's a great set. But, you know, 94 through 97 definitely wasn't on the same level as 91 to 93. They tried, but just couldn't quite make it happen. 95s are kind of interesting. They've kind of got like the die cut edges all the way around. Kind of makes it cool, but I don't know. It's just, it wasn't quite the same. All right, so there's 91 Donruss gone. Move this stuff out. Like I said, I am going to skip the 91 Donruss Series 2. Save everybody the trouble of having to watch that. If you really came to see 91 Donruss, I'm sorry, but I'll open that later, and I'll post if I do get any hits there. There's not even Diamond Kings in the 92, or sorry, 91 Series 2. There's no Diamond Kings even, so what's the point? There really isn't much. The only reason that I get the 92 a little bit, there's always the possibility of getting a Donruss Elite. Can't say never. But what I do with these, like my kids like to help out, and when I get a bunch of sets open and I look for the cards that I want to look for, they like to sit down and put the sets together. And then I just, if anybody wants full complete sets of these cards, then I still put them together. So getting the Series 2, that way I can put like a full 91 Donruss set together. And yeah, I don't look to make money off of them whatsoever. It's kind of like getting a little bit back for the buying the boxes, but really just giving people out there the chance to own the full sets if they have interest in that. Like, that's all I care about, is just making collectors happy, you know, putting it out there and making sure everybody gets the cards they enjoy seeing. So yeah, so for those 90 upper decks, Andrew says, I would bet it's 1 in 50 cases. And you're probably right. Like I said, 4 or 5, that's probably very generous for how big the print runs were back then, and how small the number of Reggie Jackson cards were available. Retro Box Breaks has the Jackson and a 91 Elite pull. That's pretty cool, having those on your channel. I love it. If I get something like that, then I could join that list of cool pools, like on camera, live. Didn't really think about it that way. I didn't buy a case of something hoping to hit something. But how cool would that be, right? That'd be a lot of fun. So this is the 92 set. Definitely an upgrade. Like, still, if I'm being honest, fairly boring. It's just white borders and there's some teal, which was the color of the early 90s. By 92, 93, the Marlins came in, they were teal. That was the thing to be. It was teal in the early to mid 90s. But the card stock themselves, these are no longer just cardboard. They can tell that they're a little bit glossy. Having things be glossy or have something on the surface became the norm by the 92, 93 type season. Everybody was doing something like that. So it wasn't just regular cardboard stock by that point. There we go, Griffey. So these are not bad. Left, right is pretty good. Top to bottom is a little off. I think for both of those it's about the same, but that's all right. I'll still just put out the Hall of Famers. As you can see, we still got the puzzle pieces in 92. That hadn't gone away yet. And then starting with 92, this is where I no longer have Diamond Kings as part of the base set. So everything's gotten fancier, like the foil packaging instead of that wax packaging. Yeah, and this is where we no longer have the Diamond Kings as part of the base. Like I said, this is where we have them start to be insert cards. So we'll probably see I would guess about 4 of them in a box. A great looking Ricky, and I love that picture too. Not only it's a good looking card from condition, but just him sliding headfirst into third base. Amazing card, amazing picture of him. I like that. All right, old man's bedtime. Have a good night. Thanks for joining, Andrew. Really appreciate you staying on for as long as you did. All right, see what else we get here. Got a Wade Boggs, another Hall of Famer. Nolan Ryan highlights right after that. Nolan Ryan's another guy, huge following. I don't think his cards have done quite what Barry Bonds and King Griffey Jr. have done the last 6 months, but Nolan Ryan has always been highly collectible. So definitely good whenever you get cards of Nolan Ryan. It's better than a lot of the other people out there. So Barry Bonds, this one's off left to right, off enough to just not separate it. Will Clark, Clemens, off left to right. So we've got the Bonds and the Clemens both off center left to right. Yeah, so what time is it? It's 5 o'clock almost Pacific time. So if you're on the East Coast, you're 8 o'clock. I'm always curious. I'm still trying to figure out, when is a good time to do live streams? When are people actually able to join? I was looking at my YouTube, traits of the people that watch and like when they're online, and between 4 and 7 p.m. my time on the Pacific Coast is when the vast majority of my viewers are online, and so I figured 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific time was going to be a great time to catch people and see if they're interested in joining and watching some old junk wax be opened. So I think that this might be kind of become the norm if I get on at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock Pacific time on Sundays. Then it just kind of seems to work for a lot of people when they're watching anyway. So I'd love to hear feedback if anybody thinks that there's a better time or it's not a good time in particular. Shout it out, but it's kind of what I'm leaning toward. That package had some good stuff, but off center. Still waiting to see my first Diamond King from 1992. There we go. There's Rod Carew's face in the puzzle piece right there. Can't remember who said earlier. Somebody said 92 Diamond Kings was their favorite. I don't know if that was Andrew, who's already left us, gone to bed early, but Eddie Murray is a Dodger. Yeah, looking forward to seeing a 92 Diamond King getting pulled at some point here. There's got to be at least a couple in every box, right? Bernie Williams, way back when, wearing those big honking glasses. I don't know if everybody can see that very well, but it's such an interesting look for him. Galarraga, Knobloch, another Bernie Williams in the same pack. There you go. Collation was still not great in 92. They improved the packaging, they improved the card design, the card stock, but they still did not improve the collation by that time. So I don't know if that's gotten better with time for modern cards, if people still see that happen where you get multiples of the same cards within a box or even within a pack. I would hope that that's vastly improved by these days, but my gut tells me probably not either. There's probably a lot of that still happens, is my guess. All right, Alan Trammell off center though. John Franco, Gary Sheffield. I am a huge Gary Sheffield fan. I know a lot of people don't like him, the whole kind of attitude problem thing. I just think he was such a dude, you know, like he struck fear into opposing fans when he came up to the plate against your team. I think that he was such a cool player. And Griffey, there's his, that's what the 92 Donruss Griffey looks like. I know there's tons of Griffey fans, Griffey collectors out there that love that card. So there's your 92 Griffey. I can't remember who the big players are in 92 Diamond Kings. Griffey has one, but I want to say that he was in 93. Maybe he was 92. Yeah, he was 92. Yeah, because he was in 94 as well. So he must have been in 92 and then 94, because they usually don't like to put the same players. Oh, there's the first Diamond King. So on the back there. Maybe it was Griffey in 93, because Randy Johnson had one for the Mariners. So they had one Diamond King. That's the whole concept of the Diamond Kings, going back all the way to 1982, is every player, one player representative per team, would have a Diamond King. So Randy Johnson might have been 92, and then maybe Griffey did have 93. But we'll find out. So with these Diamond Kings, you can start to tell by the color sometimes who it's going to be. This is a reveal, right? Ripken is a great one. I love that. So there we go. And it looks pretty good. Like some of the top edge doesn't look perfect. The back, it's hard to tell if this is actually just extra paper, like from the cutting process, or if it's actually a little bit of chipping. I think there's one chip on the back there, and then the top has a little bit, but it's not bad. But there you go. There's your first Diamond King that we've got from the insert set version. So Cal Ripken. I've got a bunch of these sleeves over here. I figured nick it with the knife, put it in. Now, when you're looking at Diamond King inserts, 92 and after, if you can get a 10, that's great. I like the idea of getting PSA 10s of all the Diamond Kings from 82 to 91, but after 91, like it's gonna be tough to be able to collect Diamond Kings in PSA 10, and they go for hundreds of dollars for some of these players after 92. So if you can get a 9, I'm happy with that. Like, I'm happy collecting a PSA 9 if you're going for the graded version. Yeah. Jacob, what's going on, man? I don't know if Maddie's still on here. He was on here earlier, left a comment. Yeah, and then great card, underrated. I'm not sure, is that the Diamond King as a whole that you're talking about? Or the Legend of Brett Morrison? I like that. It's a great YouTube handle. You guys have the Diamond King as a whole, or the Ripken specifically? The Diamond King inserts, I do think, are just one of the most classic insert sets of the early to mid 90s. Got Dale Murphy, a little off center. Kenny Lofton, not a rookie card, but it's a rated rookie. So back when Donruss actually put rated rookie on here. A little off center, but I'll still set it aside. And then Lee Smith, Hall of Famer. Matt Williams, great player. Dennis Eckersley, off center though. Yeah, Jacob and Matt are still here. Two old friends coming together on YouTube Live while opening baseball cards. That's pretty cool. Just a bit like back in the day, right? All right, Robin Yount, Hall of Famer. Randy Johnson, that one's off center though. There's another Griffey. This one looks a bit off center, but it's Griffey, right? You got to separate him out. You can't just put him with all the rest. Eventually, like when I do go to make sets of all this stuff, I've got Murphy and Lofton coming up again. I will come back through all of these to make a complete set, right? And find the ones that aren't likely going to gem. And if they're not going to gem, I'll put them in here. There's really no point. The only reason I separate out the Hall of Famers is just to be able to see if any of them could possibly gem. And if they're gem worthy, then they might be worth sending in someday. But if they're not, then they just go as part of the set. Jack Morris, way off center. Barry Larkin off center. Yeah, a lot of these. I think that might be a Steve Finley rookie. A lot of these are really off center. That whole pack was. Yeah, the good old days of baseball cards cost 25 cents. Yeah, way back in the day, like the 80s. I remember, I think the first cards that I bought in 88, they were probably like $1 by that time, something like that. But yeah, definitely not the way things are anymore. Those were the good old days. So let's just pull this out from the beginning. So Joe Carter. Joe Carter, this one looks even better than the Ripken. Yeah, that one looks really nice all the way around. So maybe a little tiny white on the lower corner, a little bit on the side there, but it's not bad. So Joe Carter, this was right in his time period, being a hero for the Jays. That walk-off home run to win it, Game 6 of the 93 series. Not a Hall of Fame guy, but you can't go wrong with having the career that he still had. It's a pretty amazing career to accomplish the things that he accomplished. So is that a Jack Morris? Yeah, same card again. I was wondering if it was both All-Star cards or if one was a base card, but yeah, same exact card twice in the same pack again. Gotta love it. Barry Larkin. Okay. So we're right around halfway done with the box of 92. And like I said, you know, probably expect about 4 Diamond Kings in a box, and we've got 2, and we're about halfway done. Tim Raines, off center, top to bottom. So I expect, yep, about 2 more Diamond Kings. It'll be interesting to see which one we pick up. If this is the year, Randy Johnson would be cool. I think it was 93 that had Griffey, and 92 is Randy Johnson. I could be backwards on that, but either one of them would be really cool. Growing up in the Seattle area, it was a lot of fun to be a Mariner fan during that time period. Maybe not the early 90s, but by the mid 90s, it was just a lot of fun to watch them. 95, when they beat the Yankees, that's always going to be a baseball memory that's just etched into my mind. So. Juan Gonzalez, another McGuire. Juan Gonzalez was another guy, like, great hitter, just couldn't stick around long enough and didn't do enough other things well enough other than hit to be able to, you know, be a Hall of Fame type guy. But man, he was quite the power hitter, quite the slugger way back in the day. Andre Dawson, the Hawk, Alvin Davis. Another Ripken. Yeah. That's my friend Matty right there. Seattle baseball was a blast with Griffey and the big unit. Absolutely. And Edgar, like, he was such a professional hitter. So much fun to watch. Took him a while to, like, really be good year in and year out. Randy took a while to figure out the strike zone and, like, really be consistent all the time. But once they were able to get that down and just be, like, good all the time, it was so much fun to watch them. Jabe Buhner was a fan favorite, like, just a great player. Great personality, too. Lots of Hall of Famers in this one. Nolan Ryan. I'm just speeding through a little bit now. I'm trying to find those Diamond Kings, open those up. Now, Maddie, you were just telling me that you opened up a box the other day and you pulled a football, right? A football box. You pulled a good young quarterback that has some promise out of 10. Did you figure out, like, what kind of market there is for that card? I can't remember the guy's name. I'm not, like, I watch football, but I don't collect football, so I'm not big on the young guys, but I remember it started with an A. All right, so here's our third Diamond King. Let's pull it out from behind. Got blue. David Justice. So he was quite the man. Early 90s for the Braves. Again, like Juan Gonzalez, you know, had a great start to his career. Great young player. This one looks like probably the best one out of all of them that I've opened up so far. That's pretty cool. A little bit off center, top to bottom. Like, it's pretty close to the edge at the top and has a lot of room. And it's harder to see, but on the front here, got a lot of space, but not much space top to bottom. So again, that one might be off a little bit, but I'll still sleeve it up just in case in the future. Yeah, David Justice had a huge career ahead of him, but yeah, just couldn't stay on the field, wasn't healthy enough, and much like Juan Gonzalez, I think he had hit a lot, but he couldn't do a lot of other things incredibly well. And so he just kind of faded as he got a little bit older. All right, Dave Winfield. Griffey, that one's off center, you can tell that right away. I'll just put that into a full set. McGriff, now with the Padres after he was traded. Ivan Rodriguez, not a rookie card, but a second-year card. Great catcher. He's a good hitter, but a phenomenal defensive catcher. Another one of those guys that people love him or hate him, depending on whether you were a fan, and the whole PD era. Questions around what he did with the Rangers. A lot of players with the Rangers in the 90s, a lot of question marks with off-center and Jack Morris, with Canseco being there, Juan Gonzalez, Pudge, Palmeiro, getting pop later in his career. I do find it interesting, I don't want to make people upset, but I find it interesting that there's so many questions swirling around the Rangers of the 90s, but nobody ever seems to question Nolan Ryan pitching until his mid to late 40s on the same team as all those guys. What he might have taken that was, banned by Major League Baseball at the time, just to be able to stay on the field and keep his muscles and his bones going. Always a curiosity to me why some people get a lot of smoke swirling around them and others get a free pass, but to each his own. All right, Lee Smith. And basically just looking now for one more Diamond King, down to the last layer of 92 Donruss. And then we'll move along to the next one. We've been going for an hour and 12 minutes. I was wondering how long this was going to be. Like this was literally just going to be my Sunday evening. I've actually got the house to myself. All the kids are gone. Right now, Nina is out. She's in San Diego, actually. She's at a conference of her own where she did not need me joining her. And therefore, I am here on a Sunday evening all by myself. And this was literally going to be one of those things that I did. Just hanging out, opening up cards, and I figured why not do it here live, see who might be interested enough in joining to watch this kind of stuff be opened. Might be some interest, and it was a good looking Griffey. Catch up with some people I know and meet some people maybe that have similar interests as you do. So it's cool to be able to do this with people watching and then post it later for people to see as well. All right, this looks like my last Diamond King. I've got one more pack, but I'm sure I'm not going to get another one. And that is a checklist. Dun, dun, dun. The most anticlimactic Diamond King card that I could have pulled on my last Diamond King is a checklist. But you still need a checklist to be able to complete the set. It's not complete without the checklist as well, so can't ignore the card. But I would have much rather seen another star player of some sort there. So 92 Donruss. I got the 4 Diamond Kings. They all look, if I had to guess, the Ripken had a little bit of edge wear. The Joe Carter a little bit as well on the back. Dave Justice seems off center top to bottom. and the checklist a little bit off center, left to right maybe. Looks pretty good on the back. I wouldn't be surprised if these all got 9s. You know, it's not going to be candidates for gems, but like I've said, 9s are still pretty good, especially if I don't have them. Jacob, you're asking to have a full set of the Diamond Kings. I don't have a full set of the graded versions for sure, and that's really ultimately kind of what I'm after, is a full set of graded. I probably have close to a full set of just the raw versions. Maybe I'm missing 1 or 2 here and there or something like that. But yeah, I've got most part. And that's really cool. Like, part of it too is if I can find some that are really great condition that I can send in for grading and get, you know, like a gem copy on some of these, then I'll do that. But the ones that are not going to gem, it's still pretty amazing to put them in a binder all together and just be able to look at them all together. It's really cool that way. So still going to do that. All right, got to figure out where to put all these 92 cards now. So that's my only 92 box. I only had a series 1. And so what's next? I've got 3 boxes left, and I don't know if I'm going to open all of them. I wanted to go for a max of like 2 hours. And so we'll see. That one just didn't end up in the right pile. I must have skipped looking through this. All right. Let's see. What do you do with the big pile of cards? Kaylee, what's up, Kaylee? So I mentioned this earlier. I've got the triple play next. I'll just open this one quickly, just to see what they look like. I might not open the whole box. We'll see about that. This one is different. The big pile of cards. So I mentioned this earlier. When I get those, I put them in a big stack, and the kids love to go through them, and they just make full sets out of them. So they put them in order first, you know, by hundreds and then by tens. And one by one, they just put the complete set together. And I don't want a whole lot of extra complete sets sitting around. You know, I've got my one complete set of the cards that I want to have. And so I'll sell these to people that want them, or sometimes I'll just give them away if people really want a complete set. If there's kids around that find it interesting, I'll just do that. But it's fun for the kids to be able to put them in complete sets, and they like to be able to do that. So this is the triple play. So this was pretty crazy, early 90s stuff, right? Kind of the fluorescent reds and yellows and oranges and all that kind of stuff. Pretty amazing cards. I think that this one, I'm not specifically sure if it was kid oriented. I think that it was more kid oriented, and they had, you know, these quiz questions on the back. So definitely a different kind of card. There's a Nolan Ryan. So right there in the first pack, Nolan Ryan and Ricky Henderson, they both look pretty good. It's hard to see, you know, centering on these because they don't, they're actually diamond cut on purpose. Harold Baines, he is a Hall of Famer. I'll put him in that. I wouldn't have put him in the Hall of Fame. Fun at the ballpark. Having cards like this is definitely geared to kids. I think I've already answered my own question. And then they had this game. I don't remember, win a trip to the 1993 All-Star Game. Rub off the 4 base areas to play. So yeah, if you get 2 areas match, you win 3 packages of baseball cards. If 3 of the bases match, then a cap, a triple play baseball cap, and if all 4 match, you get the grand prize of going back in time to the 1993 All-Star Game. That would be pretty cool if they could still honor that. I highly doubt it though. And there's one of these in every single one. I'm going to be interested. Like, I'm going to rub all of those off and see what would have happened back in the day if I had gotten this box in 1992 when it first came out. What would have happened? So I will definitely report back to that when the time comes. Dwight Evans, not a Hall of Famer, should be, in my book. I think that he will get in. I don't know if it'll be next time. I think he's one of those guys that will get a lot more recognition. He gets a lot more recognition as we understand stats and analytics a lot more. And I think that he should be in the Hall of Fame, but might take more than one chance. You know, he might need to go 2 more times out or 3 more times out or something like that. Randy Johnson, horizontal card. That's a beautiful looking card. Interesting how he's got his face right behind the baseball there. It's kind of cool. Little Hot Shots. Looks like Guess Who. So you've got Scott Sanderson in his little uniform. Definitely geared toward kids. Larry Walker, Hall of Famer. So Jacob, if you kids are looking for full sets of these cards, you just let me know, and I'll make sure that the kids put some together and we get them over to you somehow. Little Hot Shots again. Brett Butler, speedy leadoff hitter. Kirby Puckett, Canseco, not a Hall of Famer, but he has a following. It's not well centered, but normally I would separate them out. Ozzie Smith, the Wizard. So this one, the triple play, it's not too different from Donruss. And I don't know how related it is to Donruss. I actually don't know the story of triple play all that much. It is Leaf, so it's a Leaf company. So they took the Diamond Kings idea and they made it into Gallery of Stars. So Gallery of Stars it looks just like the Diamond Kings. They might as well have just ripped it off. But they just called it something different. And it's a slightly different look as well, but it's basically a version of Diamond Kings, and that's really all it is. So there's the first one. Gallery of Stars, I already know who it is. It's Frank Viola. There you go. So there is a Gallery of Stars card. Like I said, it's different enough. You know, you look at the Diamond Kings and you compare them side by side. Diamond King has more of a classic look, I guess, whereas the Gallery of Stars has a more artistic look. But it's, for all intents and purposes, it's basically the triple play version of a Diamond King. So, and it doesn't look too bad. I'll look closer later. It's a little bit off center, it looks like, but still sleeve it up. Okay, look through the triple plays. Another Lou Whitaker. I don't remember how big this set is, but I imagine it would also be pretty difficult to do a complete set from one box. So might end up having to buy a second box of these just to be able to get more Gallery of Stars and actually fill out a complete set. I'm going to guess that there's probably 4 Gallery of Stars in one box. Very similar to the Diamond Kings. Why not? If it works for the Diamond Kings, might as well not change things up too much and just do the same sort of thing. So, yeah, throughout time, there's always been these attempts at making kid-focused baseball cards. Like once the baseball card industry became more and more geared toward adults and collectability, they still needed to get kids into the hobby and kids collecting and enjoying it. And there's definitely some of these sets throughout time that were geared toward that, triple play being one of them. More recently, you know, there's the Topps Big League was in there in the late 2010s and early 2020s. I think that one's gone now, or I can't remember. Maybe they brought that one back, or they still have it around. But they're always mixing things up a little bit like that and trying to gear stuff toward kids, which I think you have to do if you really want this sort of hobby to survive. Like, you got to bring in the younger generation, or else you're gonna have older people that don't really care. There's another gallery of stars. So upside down, everything's upside down. That last one might be upside down as well. Tim Raines, Dawson, awesome action. And let's see, Gallery of Stars of Danny Tartable, Yankee outfielder. That's a pretty cool looking card, actually. I like the design of that one. And that one looks really nice. It looks better than the Frank Viola, so set that one aside. This is one of those underrated sets. So if you like to collect 90s inserts, but you don't want to break the bank because of how expensive they have gotten recently, Gallery of Stars is a pretty cool one. So you still have, you know, a full roster of players like the Diamond Kings, some great players from that time period, but they don't go quite as much as Diamond Kings do these days. So Tim Raines again, awesome action. Andre the Hawk Dawson. This looks like a repeat pack. Fred McGriff, Yount, we've seen those already. Definitely, I think that's like the third or maybe even the fourth Lou Whitaker that we've seen. Alright. So with this one too, I might just do a half a box. You get the idea of what this triple play looks like, but there's a lot of repeats already. Like, that's Dave Valley. I've seen him several times. So Sheffield, we've already seen. Nope, Andy Van Slyke. That's a new one. So there's Andy Van Slyke, one of my favorite Pirates from when I was growing up, as a Little League player. It's pretty cool. I like that. They should bring that back. They should do a modern day insert set of players in their Little League uniforms. And I don't know, how inspirational would that be for kids to be able to see, like, hey, some of these players were just like me when I was young, and maybe I have a chance to make it to the big leagues one day too. Brett Butler again. I definitely think that's an idea that these card manufacturers should explore again. Get some kid photos of some of these big players. Like, how many of you guys would love to see, you know, Mike Trout's Little League photo and Paul Skeen's Little League photo, Jeff Bagwell. One of my favorite players growing up. This is not a very flattering picture of him. I don't know what he's doing there. He's like a check swing or something. But it's the first Bagwell that we've gotten. The famous chicken. Actually got a card of the chicken. So back in the 80s, I remember seeing the chicken at a variety of places. Little League stadiums, sorry, not Little League, minor league stadiums. Oklahoma City is where I grew up my first 10 years. And they used to have the Oklahoma City 89ers. That was back in the day. I think it was the Rangers affiliate. And the chicken used to come through town, and it was hilarious. I think he was one of the best. Wasn't actually a mascot. Frank Thomas, hot player from the 90s. Wasn't a mascot, he was just like a traveling mascot, so he wasn't associated with one team at all. But yeah, I thought as a kid he was hilarious. I enjoyed everything about the chicken. So he's got several cards. I know that there's one from the earlier 80s that's way more famous and worth a lot more money than this one, but it's still kind of cool. Like, you can always collect things like that just give you good memories. Collect cards of the chicken. Why not, right? Randy Johnson. I think that's, yeah, Scott Sanderson again. Larry Walker. Tim Raines. All right. Just a handful more. I think 4 more, and we'll be halfway through this one. And then we'll probably just do one more box today. Call that good. Got 93 Donruss coming up next. We've already gone through 88 Donruss, which I did half a box and just set it aside because everything was so off center. There wasn't going to be a single good card that comes out of it, you know, and there's not much that's going to come out of 88 Donruss that's good anyway. You know, you've got Alomar and Glavin, rookie cards of Hall of Famers, but really it was just the Diamond Kings that I was looking for mostly. But when everything is so off center, what's the point of continuing to open the box? And then I opened the 91 Donruss, Series 1. Cool to see that. Again, not much there. Always fingers crossed for a Donruss Elite, but not very likely to get that. And then, again, the Diamond Kings, if you can find really good condition stuff. But it's not that exciting. And then I moved on. I got the 92 Donruss, so I opened that up. I got my 4 Diamond Kings out of that box. No Donruss Elite there again. And then I moved on here to the 92 Triple Play. Don Mattingly. Interesting picture choice of Don Mattingly there. I don't know who number 17 of the Angels was. Lee Stevens or something like that. Got a picture of the Hall of Fame. If anybody wants to visit that, you can just see the picture here. All right, last one for the Triple Play. And then we're going to move on. It's an hour and a half that we've been opening cards together. And I got another Gallery of Stars, but bad news, another Frank Viola. So we even have copies, duplicates of the insert cards as well. That's how bad the correlation is. It's not just the set itself. But this one, it looks better than the other Frank Viola that I got. So who knows? Maybe when I look at these later, there will be something that feels gem-worthy. Now, I think we're about halfway through with this box. Maybe I'll end up getting more than 4 in the box. You never know. Maybe I'll end up with 5 or 6. But that's 3 halfway through the box, with a whole pile of these cards that I will rub off later as well. So there's the Triple Play. That gives you an idea of what that looks like. We'll move some of these out. Triple Play. And then, so the 93 Donruss, maybe we'll stay on a little bit longer today, because I have 2 boxes of the 93 Donruss actually. I've got a Series 1 right there, and I've got a Series 2. So the Series 2 box, I think that the story, from what I understand, this is not something I understood when I was a kid, but they have these bonus cards that were packaged in with the box when they were sold by QVC or something like that. It was like online shopping. And so when you bought a box off of QVC, they would have this bonus card put into the box itself, or onto the box or something. I actually don't know how this is supposed to work. It feels like it's actually like glued or pasted on there. Be interesting, yeah. So this, from what I understand, is the Dominators card. So you've got the Elite inserts that you find in the box itself, and then you have these Dominators cards that were included like after the product was boxed. And so I could open both of these. Maybe I'll do that. I need to open them anyway. I don't know how many people are still with me or how many people are going to watch this after the fact. But I gotta open them anyway, so I might as well do it on here. I'll save the Series 2 for last. We'll keep that one in mind for later on. So here's the next evolution of Donruss. So this is getting to 93 now. So 93 Donruss. I don't actually remember if there's anything other than the Diamond Kings. Yeah, I think it's just Diamond Kings. So you have the Elite insert cards again, and then you've got the Diamond Kings, I think, is the only 2 options here for 93. So you can see here, this is the evolution. Once again, a year later. Where's my 92s? So here's a 92. and here's a 93. And it's really, I don't know, they got rid of the teal. That was essentially what they did. They put the logo in the corner, they put the team logo on, which is good. But in a lot of ways, it looks very, very similar. So they didn't go all out here for a major redesign or anything. I think they did that for 94, but 92 to 93 was not a lot of ingenuity here. And they did the same thing, the same exact thing. I'm getting a lot of Ricky Hendersons. That's a nice looking Ricky though. They did the same exact thing, like I said, with the insert card. So the Donruss Diamond King, when you look at the 92 versus the 93 design, they essentially look exactly the same. There may be like some very, very small, subtle differences, but not things that you would notice unless you're looking at them side by side. And we will look at them side by side when I get one. But yeah, it really feels like when they were doing 93, they just said, hey, let's just do 92, run it back again, and get rid of some of the things that are kind of ugly and just kind of keep it simple, make it easy on ourselves. Maybe they didn't want to do a whole lot of work that year. I don't know. Maybe it was a lean year for Donruss for some reason. So there's something in this one. There's something in that one. We'll see what that is. Maybe. Oh, okay. We got the Spirit of the Game. So there was another one. They just didn't put it on the box. So this is a great insert set. I forgot that this was in 93. A Spirit of the Game. It's the whole idea of having the picture, like the entire area of the card, which I just think every insert set that's like this, it looks great. So the 93 Upper Deck Walter Use collection. This one is he safe or is he out? You can see the tag being applied. It looks like the glove is right there. And is he safe or is he out? And I don't know, they don't put the players' names on it. You can tell who it is, like third baseman Wade Boggs for the Red Sox, but it was a good idea in terms of the pictures, I think. But I wonder if it kind of missed the mark a little bit for the concept of the insert itself. So we will be getting some of those. I forgot about the Spirit of the Game cards. In addition to the Diamond Kings, we've got a chance for those and the Donruss Elite. So we'll go through and see what we end up getting. It's kind of cool. I wasn't sure if there was going to be anything other than the Diamond Kings, and it's always nice when you get a little bit of extra insert cards thrown into your box. Never a bad thing, right? Unless it's so overdone. I think I remember it got to the point where John Smoltz, I think some of the Ultra ones later on had an insert every pack, and at that point it kind of started to wonder, like, what's the point of having inserts? It's really not that interesting or crazy anymore. So there's another Spirit of the Game, Dennis Eckersley this time. This one's got a little bit of edge wear, unfortunately. Pumped on the back there, pumped, Dennis Eckersley. There you go. So it looks like, I didn't see odds for the Spirit of the Game, but it looks like we're going to have quite a few of these. This is your more common insert. And then the Diamond King will probably be, again, around 4 per box is what I'm expecting. Let's see who we get here. Anybody good? Billy Ripken of the famed Bat Knob error card from 89 Fleer. One of those cards that's gotten extremely popular as time goes by as well. Everybody remembers it wasn't a chase card, but if there was such a thing as a chase card in the 1989 season, then that was it. Trying to get the original Billy Ripken Bat Knob error card. I guess it wasn't an error card. It was, what do you call it? It's just something that went through. It got through the QA/QC process without people knowing about it or noticing it, or maybe the story goes sometimes that Fleer wanted the publicity, and so they were willing to let it through because they were lagging behind some of the other card companies at the time. I don't know if there's any merit to that, but it makes for a good conspiracy theory of some sort. But definitely, like, that was one of the cards to have from 1989. I was trying to get that card for sure. Okay. A lot of nobodies in this one. Brett Boone, rated rookie. He had a great couple of seasons for the Mariners, like just phenomenal. I think he was definitely one of those PED users. I don't think that's a question, but you know, still some great seasons. You can't pass up what he did, what he's able to do. Just couldn't stick around long enough to keep doing it. All right, so we got, here's our Diamond King. So we got the first Diamond King. Let's see who we get. Andy Van Slyke. Not a huge name, but one of my favorites. Like, I loved Andy Van Slyke as a player growing up. I liked the Pirates a lot, and I just felt like he epitomized the Pirates, what they were all about. So, so there's our first Diamond King. I'll show you real quick the difference. So looking at 92 to 93 Diamond King, it's essentially the same. There's a little bit of difference in maybe the color, not really even, like maybe that's just the difference between the two cards. But you want to know the big difference? That's it. Blue back, 92, green back, 93. That's essentially it. Other than that, it was the same exact design, and they just changed the color on the back of the card and said, hey, that's good enough. That's all we want to do. It definitely got more interesting with it after 93. 94 was kind of a wild design. 95 was even more so, if I remember right, and then 96. 97 got very, very classic art type look. But 92 and 93 is essentially running back the same concept for both of those years. So you can't complain too much. It's a great looking card. Like somebody said earlier, 92 was their favorite. And I think that there's a reason for that. Like 92 and 93, they just look like the classic Diamond King that you think of. So I like that too. If you're gonna repeat one of the designs, you might as well make it one of the best designs. All right, got Ryan Sandberg on the top there. Passed away this last year. I guess it was about a year ago now. It was right before the National in 2025, which I did go to. I didn't go this year to the National. But yeah, died quite young, unfortunately. All right. So every which way these cards are just kind of put in willy-nilly, whatever they felt like doing. So as you can see, there's not a lot to see in 93 Donruss either. It's just essentially the insert cards is what you really want to go after. And then they've got the Hall of Fame type players every once in a while, but still a lot of just regular, common, everyday type players as well. I hope that we get 4 Diamond Kings. I hope that the spirit of the game cards don't take away from the number of Diamond Kings that you get. Maybe it did though. Like I don't remember exactly. It's been a long time since I've opened a box of 93 Donruss. 92 I opened not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago. But 93 has been a long, long time. Okay. A lot of nobodies. Got Jack Morris, Hall of Famer. Bobby Witt, not the junior version. Kevin Reimer, Lee Stevens, Paul Molitor, Hall of Fame guy. Lance Parrish, he was on the Mariners for a short time. Known mostly for his 80s time with the Tigers. Alright. Charlie Hayes, Matt Williams, great slugger from the 90s. Like, he was on pace to have an MVP type season, I think. Challenge a home run record in '94 when the strike happened. Didn't get to see that through. Jeff Bagwell, Frank Thomas, Matt Williams, all three of them just phenomenal seasons that year. Didn't get to see what they could actually finish up with. Montreal Expos as well, didn't get to see where they finished up. A lot of people say that that was the start of the end of baseball in Montreal. If anybody has not seen there's a documentary, What Happened to the Expos on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, it's really good. It's interesting. Even if you're not a huge baseball fan, it's still pretty interesting to learn about the business side of things behind it, and the fans of Montreal that lost their team and all that kind of stuff. Tony Gwynn, one of the greatest hitter of his generation, probably one of the greatest hitters of all time. Didn't have a lot of pop, but man, he's like a Luis Rise right now. He could just make contact whenever. He hardly ever struck out. You just don't see many players like that anymore. It's nice to see Rise actually getting a lot more recognition for his game. He hits the ball so well. And the problem was he didn't really do much of anything else very well. So it's nice that he's had an incredibly good year this year on defense. And that's really kind of put him back on the map for being a great player. If he can hit, even without power, but if he can just hit the ball, keep in play, not strike out, and play really great defense at the same time, that's a quite valuable player that's not going to keep bouncing around the league playing for a new team every year. So, nothing, a lot of nothing in that one. Still only have the one Diamond King, unfortunately. I think because we have the Spirit of the Game cards, I might not get the Diamond Kings that I'd like to have. It's too bad. I would, any day of the week, trade in all the Spirit of the Game cards for more Diamond Kings. Because the Diamond Kings are ones that I really collect. Spirit of the Game, that's cool. It's nice having that full-size photo on the front, but it's not a Diamond King, that's for sure. Dean Palmer, great power hitter. Dean Palmer again, still a great power hitter even the second time in the same pack. Got something there. That's a Diamond King. Perfect. You see who we get this time. Juan Guzman, Steve Finley. Okay, Diamond King is Kirby. I like it. Kirby Puckett. Hall of Famer. I'll always take a Hall of Fame Diamond King. Very cool. Let's put him in a sleeve. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. Nothing jumps out at me right away. And like I said many times, 9s on these Diamond Kings are great for collectors. Don't need a 10 on everything. It's incredibly hard to find 10s on all this stuff. So I am quite happy to get cards that are good enough conditionals that'll get me back a 9 if I decide to complete my set and grade everything that has a good chance for a good grade. There's very few interesting players. I don't know. I find that interesting. If there's two more star players that are in Series 2, or they just made, I think they started making bigger sets. And so instead of having like 600 cards, they're having more like 700 cards. And so they have to start including more no-name type players. And of course, as soon as I say that, we get Sammy and Pudge, both in a pack. Todd Zeal was a great player. Mitch Williams had some good seasons. Not great World Series, but decent seasons for the Phillies. Lance Johnson, speedy guy. John Valentin. Chris Sabo. I love Chris Sabo. He was one of my favorite players early in the 90s. I just love the fact that he always wore these gigantic goggles on his face. So that was cool. Didn't turn out to be a great superstar. Like, I think he had a good year or two maybe, but couldn't string it together after that. But I don't know. Sometimes, especially growing up, your favorite players don't have to be the superstars on the team. Craig Biggio. Like, my daughter loves the Phillies. Jasmine is a massive Philly fan. And, you know, they've got all these great players, but time and time again, the one that she loves, the one that she roots for the most is Bryson Stott. She just absolutely loves Bryson Stott's game, thinks that he is the greatest Philly. And, you know, I don't want to disagree with her. I do disagree with her, you know. He's a good player. I'm not going to diss him. He's a solid role player type player, but I don't think he's ever going to be an all-star. But that doesn't matter, you know, like, especially when you're young, you're growing up and you have a favorite team, you just love the players that you love. And so sometimes that's a Chris Sabo, and sometimes it's a Jay Buhner for the Mariners fans of the 90s. And sometimes there he is, Jay Buhner, right there, perfect timing. And sometimes it's a Bryson Stott of the Phillies. So more power to her. Bryson's having a pretty decent season this year. He's really come on strong in the last. Oh, got another one. Perfect. We'll look at that one in a second. So that is Diamond King number 3. So we still have a chance of a fourth Diamond King. You never know. All right, let's see. Well, Ryan Sandberg's going to keep him covered up. It's nice that these cards are not bricked together. So whatever technology that they used here did not result in bricking. Looks like these are slightly stuck together, ever so slightly. It's an Oral Hershiser. A great pitcher from the 80s again, on that Dodger team of 1988 that won the World Series behind Kirk Gibson. Just a phenomenal season that year. Pretty good looking card, not too bad. There was a little bit of sticking there with Ryan Sandberg on top, so it may have taken a little bit of the edge off, but we will look at that under magnification later on and see if it looks good or not. And now let's keep our fingers crossed for a fourth one. It would be nice to get a fourth Diamond King. Pedro Martinez, early days with the Dodgers. Dennis Martinez, great pitcher. Jim Thome, there you go, another Hall of Famer. First one we've seen of him. Darryl Strawberry. What could have been for him, he could have been a Hall of Famer if he probably had stayed off of the drugs and the partying way too much. But such is life, it happens. We got to adjust, and that's what happens when you don't. Kevin Brown, he could be a Hall of Famer. I really do think at some point in the future, people might start evaluating his career differently. What he has going against him is like it's what's going for him is the analytics and how good those are for him, but what's going against him is he just wasn't very likable as a person, and that could really hold him back at some point. All right. Anything good? Kurt Schilling? I think that's second Kurt Schilling. He of the Bloody Sock. And another guy that is not very likable, and I think he would have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago if it was just based off of what he did on the baseball field. But the fact that he got so, I don't know, involved in conspiracy stuff, and not conspiracy stuff, but, well, illegal stuff. I think some financially illegal things, maybe a little bit of fraud that he wasn't convicted of, but it was messy with the state. I think Rhode Island was the state. And then he got into the political spectrum and started making comments that were just off base. And no matter who you support, your comments have to be somewhat normal for people to support you. So I think he lost a lot of votes there for things that had nothing to do with being a baseball player. So there you go. That is my 93 Donruss Series 1 box. It ended up being 2 Spirit of the Game cards and 3 Diamond Kings. So, you know, would I trade both of these for 1 Diamond King? Probably still would, but I'll take it still. Like, it's not going to complain. 3 Diamond Kings that look pretty decent, so we'll see what comes out of that. Set all of these aside, get these 93 Series 1 off the screen. Running out of room on my desk. It's a good thing this is my last box coming up, because I will not have much room for storing anything else. Alright, last box. Like I said, this is the same year, so they'll look the exact same. We'll get Diamond Kings. Probably get Spirit of the Games, unless there's a different series, like a different insert card for Series 2 compared to Series 1. And then, so here's your packaging that came from this bonus card. And I thought at first maybe the bonus card was inside of this, like inside of a envelope or something, but this is just a sticker on the top. And so I guess maybe they packaged it inside. Hopefully it's actually in there. Hopefully it's not a scam that looks like it's supposed to be in there, but it's actually not. But these are the ones that have, they will have the Donruss Elite as a possible insert. Not very likely. You know, we've gone through all of these boxes now. What is that? 91, 92, 93. So 3 boxes worth and no elites. Not a surprise whatsoever. Like, literally you need to have a case of boxes to get an elite. But in addition to the elite, it's supposed to have these bonus cards that looks like maybe it does not have it. I don't know the story behind it, but it says bonus 1 individually numbered Donruss Elite Dominator card enclosed in this box. Maybe it's in a pack. I thought it was like after packaged, but maybe they actually just insert it into the pack somewhere and sell these. It was special for, like I said, I think it was QVC, something like that. They sold it online. I've never opened a box that actually has one in it, so this is kind of a learning experience for me to know what it is. I didn't know where to expect it in the box, but we will find out by the end of the box whether it's in here, how it's in here, and which one I get. If it is in here. Roberto Alomar looks decent. There's a checklist on the front. We could look over the checklist, see which one, but I'd rather just be surprised, and hopefully it's actually in here. And there's something right there. That's a Diamond King. So there's the Griffey right there. So Griffey was in Series 2. And it's not a common card that you see. Like, I think it's actually a pretty cool looking card. It's a nice picture of him being the kid, but it's not something that I recall seeing a lot. You know, collectors or people looking for that card. There's the Diamond King. Let's see who we get. Bob Tewksbury. There you go. A little bit of corner wear on the top, but not bad again. You know, like, not perfect, but good enough. That's what I'm finding with a lot of these. Okay, Ken Patterson. David Cohn, great pitcher. David Cohn could be a Hall of Fame guy in the future. It'll be interesting to see how a number of these pitchers are treated long term. Kevin Brown, David Cohn. There's another one. Is it? Yep, another Diamond King right off the bat. So 3 packs in, 2 Diamond Kings. Excuse me. Let me get some water. Joe Carter. Lee Smith, Hall of Famer. Little stuck there at the back. Darryl Hamilton. All right, let's see who we get. Oh, that's interesting. Let's look at this card. So, Paul O'Neill, you got him in a Reds uniform. But at the bottom there, excuse me, it says traded to the Yankees. So he's got the Yankees emblem at the bottom of the card, but the picture's still on the Reds uniform. So, a little nuance that you don't really see anymore, but it's kind of cool that they updated it. All right, so upside down, it's gonna be orange. Who is this? Eddie Murray. Not a bad one. Hall of Famer, at least. So it got an Eddie Murray in his New York Mets uniform for a Diamond King. It looks very similar. Top corner, just like a little bit of white on it, but we'll sleeve it up and see what it looks like later on. Lou Whitaker. Barry Bonds. Interesting picture of Barry Bonds too. And another one that I don't remember seeing of Barry Bonds very often. So yeah, these 93 cards maybe weren't all that popular. Yeah, some interesting stuff that they did. Traded from the Cubs to the Marlins. This guy, Andy Ashby. Expansion draft from the Phillies to the Rockies. So they obviously couldn't get pictures with the new teams, but they still wanted to put the information. Gary Sheffield. Looks like something again. Another Diamond King from the looks of it. It's kind of surprising when we get tons of Diamond Kings here. Usually I'm used to getting 4 per box-ish, something like that. But let's see. I got a dark green. Brady Anderson. There you go. Once again, that top corner. It's the same one on all 3. But I will not complain. 3 Diamond Kings out of the first, I don't even know, 9 packs, something like that. So there you go. 3 Diamond Kings so far. I'll spread those out so we can look at them. And another Barry Bonds. That one's a little off center from the looks of it. Yeah, a little bit. That's all right though. All right, let's see who we get. Tony Fernandez was also traded to the Mets. There we go. Monty Ferris, expansion draft. Andy Ashby, Scott Allred, all expansion draft guys. Dave Winfield, a Hall of Famer. Yeah, a lot of players moving teams that year. I remember the expansion draft. It was kind of fun to see who was going to end up being on those new teams, what kind of rosters that they would put together. Neither was very good right off the bat, but it wasn't too long until they got better. There's another Griffey. Nice Griffey card. Nothing really. Well, John Kruk. It looks like he's not even going to catch that ball. His glove's not even open at that point. John Kruk is such an interesting guy, play-by-play, color commentator, whatever for the Phillies. He's fun to listen to. He's definitely, you know, old school, traditional type guy. Not politically correct all the time, but also just doesn't care, and it's part of the fun of watching it. So I enjoy him a lot. I think he's great. And Jasmine does too. She loves watching the Philly games, and she loves hearing John Kruk, and she knows a lot about John Kruk from his playing days just because he's the commentator. There's Andy Van Slyke, Pirates guy. Barry Larkin, Hall of Famer. Harold Baines, another Hall of Famer. Not sure if he should be still, but he got in. He got the right people on the committee that was voting for him. A bunch of guys that were supporters of his anyway. Oh, it's kind of interesting with the Veterans Committee is how, you know, you want them to be impartial, but of course they played against some of these guys with some of them. Greg Maddux, Kirby Puckett, Don Mattingly. It's a great little string of players right there. Albert Bell, one of the most feared hitters as well. I'd say he and Gary Sheffield are right up there. Javi Lopez is a rated rookie. He's a great catcher for a number of years for those Braves of the 90s. Just kept winning over and over and over. Couldn't stop him. Carlos Baerga, great second baseman for the Indians. The Indians had just a juggernaut of a team. They had Manny Ramirez once he came up, Jim Thome, Albert Bell, Carlos Baerga, Omar Vizquel. Like, some really great players on that team. Couldn't do a lot with it. They almost beat the Marlins, but Marlins just kind of came back on them at the very end. Edgar Renteria, Robin Yount, Edgar Martinez back when he was still a third baseman early in his career. All right, we got something again. It is another Diamond King. Yep. There we go. 4 Diamond Kings already. I already beat the Series 2, and I'd say we're like a third of the way done. Ah, it's a checklist. Well, like I said, checklists still matter. Fortunately, this checklist is pretty off-center, left to right. It's too bad. Number 31. It's a picture. I don't know if this is going to be good quality at all, but there's the picture of the man, Dick Perez, that drew all of these, painted all of them, whatever. Drew all of them. Still got to have the Checklist. That's definitely one that I would not care if it's gem or not. It's like having a 9 checklist would be just fine by me. We are over the 2-hour mark. Wow. Whoever's still hanging on here, thanks for hanging out, keeping me company on this trip down memory lane. Wade Boggs, there's the first one. Jeff Bagwell. Love Jeff Bagwell. It's a great player. Jeff Bagwell has ended up being extremely underrated. I think one of the definitely top 10 first basemen of all time. But I don't think he's really treated that way in the hobby. Gonzalez, Gary Sheffield. Javi Lopez again. It looks like the coalition's a little bit better in this one. I feel like we keep seeing new players that we haven't seen yet, so that's good. Chili Davis. He's still around the game as a hitting coach. Joel Johnson was traded. Andre Dawson. Ruben Sierra. He was great when he was back with the Rangers early in his career. Great young hitter. Didn't stick around for very long either. I think we're halfway done. Halfway done. 4 Diamond Kings. Still no Dominators insert card. Got to figure out what the story is behind that. It does look like it would be pretty easy to fake it. It's essentially just a picture, or like a sticker that you attach to the front of some plastic. So I don't know. It could be that it's just BS, but I didn't really pay much for these boxes anyway. I think this was like $25, so the Dominator was just an extra on top. What I'm really after, like I've said several times, is all these Diamond Kings. Diamond King hunting, and then the very, very off chance that you never know if you're gonna get an elite card. Which I did not expect, and I keep telling myself I do not expect to get an elite card, but I would be extremely happy if we all got to see one. So, you never know. But if we really want to see an elite card, if we really want to open something like that up on YouTube live, I think I'm going to have to get like a case of this stuff. And I really don't want the case of 93 Donruss or 92 Donruss or 91 Donruss especially. Like, that's just a lot of Donruss sitting around your house that I wouldn't know what to do with. I wouldn't want to have to figure out what to do with. I'd probably just end up throwing a lot of it away or burning it all just to be able to get rid of it. All of that work to try to find an elite, I don't know. It seems like a lot. You can go buy elites ungraded for a pretty decent price still. So if all you really want is an elite card and you don't really care what condition it's in, just go buy the elite cards. The elite cards are one that, you know, I find that buying ungraded raw versions of insert cards isn't challenging enough, and that's why I like to grade the cards and try to get like high copies, 9s and 10s of these things. Andre Dawson 2 and 1 pack. And so like if I wanted to buy all the Diamond Kings, I would be able to do that. There's 30 cards in the set. I'd be able to do that for $30 probably off of eBay and get it all done today. You know, like that's not that challenging. And so the challenge comes in finding them all, but finding them all in good enough condition that they can be graded, or in graded already condition, to build a set that's like that, you know, not just raw cards. But the reason why I bring this up is Elite insert cards are one that I would actually find it challenging enough to just find the cards ungraded. I think that they're hard to come by. Not a lot of people have them. They are available out there, but you may not find every single one of them that you need online today. You know, you might actually have to do a little bit of hunting to be able to find them. And so that's kind of cool to be able to do that, right? And so I think that it would be fun to just go get the Donruss Elite insert cards and just collect raw versions. But for something like the Diamond Kings, that's not challenging enough. It's not hard enough. So I like the idea of trying to find them all in as good a condition as possible and get them graded. And that's half the fun, is the set registry, like competing with other people or collecting with other people and having fun with it. And yeah, I'll highlight this real quick. New York Yanks, collect what you like. That's exactly right. So many people that complain about what people collect, or whether they should be grading their cards or not, or whether the types of cards that they send in is what's slowing down the grading companies from being able to grade everything else. And there's just a lot of opinions out there, and I don't really care. You do what you do, and that's cool for me. And I make a lot of videos about, you know, I buy cards that are graded, and I finally found, you know, this new Donruss Diamond King insert that I didn't have in a 10 or a 9, and people leave comments and like, this is stupid, why do you grade cards, it's a scam. And it's like, it's not a scam, it's just the next level of a way that you can collect. If doing raw cards only gets a little boring for you, if it's too easy, take the challenge of getting the graded versions. So that's how I see it, and that's how I continue to have fun with the hobby, and it's a good time for me. So I totally agree with you. Collect what you like, and that whatever way you like, it's a hobby. It's there for you to collect. So it's the whole point. So we are coming down to it, and it's interesting. Like I got 4 Diamond Kings. I got them, that's off center, don't need that. I got them pretty quickly, and I thought maybe I'll get more than 4, but it's looking like I'm just gonna get the 4, and that's it. Unfortunately, they were just all loaded into the top of the box rather than spread out throughout the box. And then this Dominators card, I have a feeling that it's just not, it doesn't actually exist in here. So somebody put a sticker on top of a box, wrapped it in extra plastic, put a sticker on top, and I was expecting it to be like in something on top of the box, not in the box, and it wasn't there. It is what it is. I don't know. What can you do? But like I said, I got this box for the Diamond Kings, so I'm happy to get some Diamond Kings, and that's what I'm here for. Ozzie Smith, got the Wizard. It is off center, so I'll leave that in my set building one. Last pack. We have been here for 2 hours, 18 minutes, a little over 18 minutes. You've seen me go through 88 Donruss, a half a box. Really crappy, really off center. You've seen me go through a 91 Donruss Series 1. Some Diamond King cards, can't complain. I went through a 92 Series 1. I got some Diamond Kings there. I got a 92 Triple Play. Got some Gallery of Stars. And now 93 Series 1 and the Series 2. And got Diamond Kings on those. So, last pack. Michael Huff, Dennis Rasmussen, Steve Decker, Rudy Sanez, Pete O'Brien, Pete Young, Sam Horn, Wade Boggs, Vince Coleman, Dave Righetti, Pedro Estacio, Mel Rojas, Rod Beck, Will Cordero. So there you go. There is a whole bunch of Donruss cards from 1988 all the way up to 1993. Got Hall of Famers separated out. Got all the commons that at some point I will try to make sets out of if I have enough of them, and see who out there is interested. Get some water. and I will lay out real quick what I got. So here's the Series 2, 93 Diamond Kings. Ended up with only the 4 out of the box, unfortunately. Here's the 91, sorry, 93 Series 1. Got 2 Spirit of the Games, 3 Diamond Kings. This was a half box of triple play. I got a Danny Tartable and 2 Frank Violas. I'll open up the other half of the box. It's just kind of boring on that one. And then 92 Diamond Kings. I got the Checklist again, a Dave Justice, Joe Carter, and a Cal Ripken. And it turns out that probably my first insert pull of the day was the Cal Ripken. It's probably the best insert pull that I got, funny enough. And then I've got a whole whack of 91 Diamond King base cards. There we go. Forgot that my little picture in the picture is there, so you can't see all this stuff. There's the gallery of stars. Got the base cards that might produce some good looking Diamond Kings, and then a very, very small stack of 88 Donruss that has very, very few cards that were centered at all. So not much to go off of there. So there you go. That is my my collection of Donruss cards that I opened up with you today. Thanks for joining me for it. I've got my triple play cards that I'm going to see if they will give me a time travel trip back to the 93 All-Star game if I win anything. And then I've got the other half of the AAA play box. If I get some more gallery stars, I'll be sure to put up a picture. And then I think that's it. Yeah, that's my Sunday evening. So the shoebox. One reason I always buy vintage, I pulled a Griffey Elite when these came out. I was 12 and still have it. That's amazing. So I've been talking about the Elites all evening. I didn't get anything. I didn't expect to get anything. It's hard to get an Elite, but to pull one when you're a kid like that is pretty phenomenal. And I'm sure that is one thing that actually, made you a lifelong fan of the hobby, and just made it so ingrained in who you are. Pulling something like that, that's huge. That's really cool that you still have it. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining me. Let's see, love to pull a Ripken one day or an auto from one of the Upper Deck packs. Yeah, so Andrew was on earlier, and he said that on his YouTube channel he was opening a box of 90 Upper Deck, and he pulled one of the Reggie Jackson Heroes autographed cards live on YouTube there. So that is pretty cool to be able to do that. I had my fingers crossed that we'd get something like that today with this, but didn't happen. That's all right. I'll continue to have fun with this, and Diamond Kings are one of my loves too, so I don't mind this at all. So that is it for me. Thanks for everybody for out there. 2 hours and 23 minutes. Anybody that stuck around, anybody that was in and out, I appreciate anybody hanging out, participating in the chat. Really appreciate it. And I'll do this again sometime. I'll continue making videos, but every once in a while I'll just jump on here and I can hang out with other collectors on a Sunday evening and just have fun with that. All right. That's it for me. Take it easy, everybody.